Neil, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just think I'll echo something that Dave kind of said there was that Robbie Brady maybe played a couple of, he hasn't been in the squad too much, but it was like he was on the pitch maybe a little bit too long. I wasn't really impressed with Troy Parrott. I think his movement was really good, but we'd never seemed to get him into the game. Whereas when Obafemi got on the ball, the place, it was an element of electricity when he got on it, everything speed up about 10 times. He just looked like he was flying around the field. And even Obafemi, when he lost possession, he won it back several times really, really quick. So he had a kind of a keen set of heels on him. So if you're looking at what we can improve and what we're lacking, I think we need a more dominant centre forward that's going to maybe score us more regular. And I don't know, it might be unfair on Troy Parrott, but maybe it's a tournament too far for him, as in he needs another tournament to get through to develop him as a player, or will he develop into that player? But another attacking presence for me, definitely. And as you're saying there, when Malumbi went off, you need a number 6 to settle the game down, stamp as a 30 on the midfield, and just play out the game. Like, it was going brilliantly for 60 minutes, and then, almost boringly into winning that game. So that's a little bit of a feather in their cap they'll need. Hopefully they learn the lesson the next time that they have their foot on the team's neck. Don't let it up. Just see out the game professionally, albeit boringly.
Yeah. Dave, which players stood out for you, good, bad, or indifferent?
Last night, Obafemi obviously was the obvious one, without a shadow of a doubt.
And the same against Scotland. He was electric again against Scotland, wasn't
he? Look, he's getting all the plaudits, and deservedly so. I liked what Cullen did on Saturday alongside Malumbi. There was that little bit of bite, and a bit like what Neil said there. It should have been a like-for-like sub instead of bringing on somebody, I can't even say it, creative, because he's not. Howard, and I'll leave it at that. I can't, like, you were there, Neil. He tried to do a crossfield ball 2 or 3 times, and they were 15, 20 yards in the air too high. And it was obvious they were going to be cut out because they were so slow. And then when he fluffed his lines for the goal, it's like, Jesus Christ, enough's enough. And he has to go back down to the championship to kind of be relevant again. That says it all. Kenny, I suppose this is where you have to be a bit ruthless, although he probably feels like he has to bring in some of these and not overdo the kids kind of thing. And obviously with the under-21 still on, it'll be interesting to see now with that campaign over, will 1 or 2 of them come in, the likes of, as Nathan said, Smallbone and Coventry. But I suppose anyone else, it was one of them games where a lot of people were 7s but didn't jump out and stick out last night. It was going nicely, but then 1 or 2 kind of lost their heads, like Doherty. When the whistle blew, he thought he blew up. Remember with that free kick at the end, Neil, and everyone goes absolutely nuts at him. And it was obvious that the ref was like, there was a bit of tired legs and a bit of thinking, I think, to the weekend for some of the players near the end. So just a lack of concentration and focus was very.
And Doherty hasn't been playing, Dave. He hasn't been playing
so he
for
could have been
Spurs.
just tired, dead on his feet.
It's the same at the weekend, Nathan was saying. Like, was it Stephen Kenny's fault or was it Doherty's fault? Maybe Stephen Kenny needed to be looking at Doherty in that game and going, well, do you know what? I don't know if I'm going to get the full 90 out of this fella.
Can I be a bit critical of Kenny? He had 5 subs. Why couldn't Coleman come on? Is Coleman that bad nowadays? No, he's not. And can he last 20 minutes? Absolutely. He's 5 subs, and whatever about Saturday, I can't really remember too much about Saturday at this stage without looking at the thing. But his subs last night, some of them were scratching my head. I was like a bit like what we said, Hurahan from Malumbi is not like for like. And obviously Doherty probably looked a bit tired, a bit dead.
And Obafemi coming off.
Obafemi comes off, and then, that's where you 5 subs. It shouldn't, if I know our squad isn't full of talent, but there is a couple of like for like to keep things fresh and to keep things when you think that 5 subs is massive now. There's no reason why we can't finish off strong. Get rid of, you can make 2 or 3 tactical substitutions, and then you can make 2 or 3 fresh substitutions where you're just keeping it fresher and keeping finishing as strong as you start. And that's where he lacked last night. And because of that, I think that's what unfortunately helped get them back in the game, not just a couple of minutes of madness.
Even when they came back from the 2-goal deficit, we were dead. We looked shell-shocked. There was a couple of balls went wayward across. I think it was O'Shea played one into the stand. We just lost our composure. Maybe that was the time for him to go, right, I'm going to put 2 or 3 of them on here now at once, slow the game down, restart and try and inject some energy. Because when you're winning the game 2-0 and all of a sudden you find yourself 2-all, generally the team that comes from behind wins that game or finishes strong.
But even Neil, you must have felt it. I mean, I felt it at home. it was like we were in a daze. It was like, how did that happen? Where did that come from? Hold on a second.
We were so relaxed and composed. It was like we were caught cold, and it felt like, and remember they whizzed one not far off the post.
By the post, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you were like, Jesus, I don't think we're coming back out of this. And then once or twice when we were kind of attacking, all of a sudden there was no one in the box, and you're kind of going, Jesus, they've lost their heads. This is going to be a disaster. And I could already see the headlines, but obviously we got a bit of luck, and deservedly so in the last minute.
Nathan, sum up Stephen Kenny as Ireland manager so far.
Good luck, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks. You got leading the big one there. I think it definitely has been the sense, hasn't it, of obviously the word transition has been thrown around a lot. One step forward, 2 step back is probably another one. That probably the 2 series of game we just seen there sums it up well, where, like I said earlier, on the Saturday, not the performance that you might want to see, but not the result. And then the Armenia game, it's the opposite. It's the result that you want. And while you can't justify being that comfortable against a side to the standard of Armenia, we've seen it in the past. We're having a terrible result against the likes of Gibraltar, beating them 1-0, and just about beating Georgia 1-0. So yeah, it's sort of what you want there. But like I said, I'm not going to change my tune at all in terms of wanting Kenny to leave the job anytime sooner than in Euro 2024. But yeah, I think the word transition will sum up Stephen so far. But it's been a long transition because he's in the bleeding job 2 years now. So
yeah, well, if you look at Mick McCarthy, it took him 6 years before he got to a World Cup and qualify. He had 2 campaigns where he had to try and change that team around after Big Jack. So, Dave, how would you sum up Stephen Kenny so far?
Yeah, potentially a little bit of what it might have been as well, because I think we have to be very realistic, and exactly what you said there about Mick McCarthy. Like the first year or two, he kept getting 3 or 4 omissions from COVID and other bits and pieces. Like it was very stop-start for the first half. I suppose the second half, there's been a little bit more consistency in terms of his selection, and you're slowly but surely seeing it. But however, there's still a bit of room to maneuver without a doubt, and just little tiny things. It could have been like we could be talking in a hell of a lot different way, but it's very much in the middle and on the fence for it to go right or wrong for him at the minute. He's right smack bang in the middle, and it's going to go one way or the other with a bit of luck, and obviously 1 or 2 guys clicking, playing consistently week in, week out, because that's just as important as their form for Ireland, especially for us, because we need guys playing regularly week in, week out. There's a big difference with guys who are match fit and not match fit. So hopefully they're professional, like their club careers can be just as successful for the next year or 2. But a little bit of what might have been, but however, I think it's still firmly within his hands and that squad's hands to do a decent job. And get a little bit of rub of the green in the draw, and the top 2, we've a cracking chance to try and do it the easy way for a change.
Yeah. Neil, same question, but if you're Stephen Kenny, the pressure's on in the next tournament because you have to get the results. So what does he do to make sure that he does get the results? He's talked about younger players. He's talking about, he picks the team, so them younger players are in there because he's picking them. So what does he sit down and look at to make sure that he gets results?
He's just going to have to stick to the routine that he's doing, Roy. And I mean, he's bringing through these young lads. He's going to have to trust them, maybe be a little bit more bold. I think we're all kind of hitting on, the retirement or 1 or 2 that have been hanging around too long, and maybe their day is finished now, the likes of Horan and that. So maybe he needs to be bold, maybe he needs to be brave, move on, but he needs to, clear out that little 1 or 2, and then he needs to find 1 or 2 small solutions for when maybe his first 11 isn't there. He's going to have to make them be a bit more dogged, maybe a little bit more street smart based on last night. When you're winning a game, finish out that game. International football is absolutely ruthless. He's been like Lazarus, Stephen Kenny. Every time you think he's dead and he's gone, he comes back to life. So I don't think he has many of them moments left in him. The next campaign is coming very, very quick. We get our draw. We find out who we're up against. He's going to have to come out of the traps, because worst case scenario, if he's 1 or 2 losses after 1 or 2 games, he'll be gone straight away. So he needs to start on the front foot, come out of traps like someone's stolen something from him. And I'm sure he'll know that this is basically his big chance now. And listen, we all wish him all the best. I don't want to be sitting here in 6 months' time saying our campaign is finished and we're knackered and we're already out. So I think they're well aware of what this has been building to. He's had his chances. You know, he's told us it's a building project, but now it's time to deliver for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Listen, we all know, I think if we summarise it, there's better football, it's more entertaining. You can see the progress of the younger players. I think you just need Stephen Kenny to progress and the players to progress at a quicker speed. So Euro 2024 is just around the corner, and we have to get them results. So for his sake and everyone's sake, it needs to come quick.